Shalom Israel, it's your brother Marcus G back with yet another Truth for Thought. First and foremost, I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. I must give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. Second of all, the prayer list, we're going to start it off with first, of course, King Ricky, also known as Pretty Ricky, a beloved brother of ours who earlier this year was incarcerated. Then we have Queen Piper. Want to keep Queen Piper in our prayers. We also have Queen India. Experienced a loss lately in her of a loved one. Want to keep her in our prayer. Also want to keep Queen Orlando in our prayer. Also one of the family members of Queen India, and they both lost a loved one relatively recently. We want to keep them in our prayers. We also want to keep in our prayers the Ellis family. That will be King Charles Ellis Sr., King Charles Ellis Sr., Queen Sydney Ellis, and King Charles Ellis Jr. They have experienced a couple of losses recently from their family. We want to keep them in our prayer. King Kemar, definitely want to keep our beloved brother King Kemar in our prayer. My beloved grandma in the truth, Queen Raya, my beloved aunt, Queen Shay, my spiritual moms, my beloved Queen Valerie, and Queen Paula. I also want to keep in prayer Queen Crystal, King Josh, Queen Ashley, and Queen Brittany. Israel, I pray that you keep them in your prayer. The married couples, we have King Ben and Queen Cassandra. King Ben has been had lately, when I had last heard from them, going through some medical issues. Israel, I pray that you keep them in your prayer. King Jermaine and Queen Kenya. Israel, I ask that you keep them in your prayer. King Greg and Queen Sharon. Lovely King and Queen. Israel, I pray that you keep them in your prayer. King Orbia and Queen Melinda, they're going through some very trying times right now, Israel. I ask that you keep them in your prayer. King Diamond and Queen LaShonda. King Diamond, I haven't forgot about your question. I was extremely busy. I'm going to get back to you. I promise you that. I ask Israel that you keep our beloved brother and sister in our prayers. And last but not least, King Brian and Queen Shavonda. Israel, I ask that you keep them all in your prayer. And of course, I also ask that you keep me and my beloved Queen Ashley in your prayers. Now, let's get to this truth for thought. Israel, it was already, it's been extremely evident that the curses have been on us. Throughout time, it has been shown. However, earlier this year at the Royal Gathering, Part 2, which was dubbed the Love Gathering, I spoke of an issue that happened on Saturday, May the 20th, 2023, excuse me, in Kansas City, Missouri, right? This was an incident that happened between two camps, meaning Israelites in the truth, way back in May of 2023. These same two camps in a whole different place have another physical altercation. This time it was Saturday, September the 2nd, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, these are all kings that profess to be in the truth, right? So what I want to do, I want to go straight to the Bible. Let's just go straight to the Bible. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And we're going to start by looking at one of the curses, okay? We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54. Right? Because there's a part of this curse. Again, one incident happened in Kansas City, Missouri. Another incident happened in Atlanta, Georgia. Same two camps. And I'm not going to say the name of these camps. I do pray to the Most High that both respected camps get a chance to see this. I do. I'm not the only one has said anything about these incidents or call them to attention, right? I'm not the only one. However, Israel, we have enough. We have 17 biblical nationalities as enemies. Not only does it behoove us not to be our own enemy, but the Most High warns or forbears us, especially those in the truth, from approaching or even looking at each other as enemies. These two camps every Sabbath, right? And they do the work. Do not get it twisted. They go out in the highways and byways, and they do Isaiah 58 and 1 to the T, right? Which is it's a commandment. It's not a request, right? They do this. But I'm going to look at some other things that are commandments. They're not requests. Because again, Israel, we already have a target on our back. We always have. That's never changed and never will change. Why make the target bigger? By being at each other's necks? That is my question. Especially after the things that I'm going to go into. Okay. So we're going to start by reading Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54. And it reads, so that the man that is tender, this is a curse that is on Israel. So that a man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. That is key. That is key. His eye shall be evil towards his brother. Because at the end of this truthful thought, I want to tell you two abominations, two sins that have been exhibited. Now, the first time, it was kind of hard to put these two abominations on there, right? First time. But then a second time happens, it's becoming more and more apparent that these two things may very well apply. I'm not saying that they do. I said may very well apply. All right. And toward the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. I just want for the record that the very beginning of this verse be very well understood, not just heard of, because again, these are men in the truth, right? They've heard of these curses. Understand, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. Understand that. Don't just know this. All right. Actually have an understanding of this, so that in the event you feel that, or you have that urge of having an evil eye towards your brethren, you understand, whoa, this curse, stop yourself. All right. Stop yourself. Let's go. I want to get a couple of foundational scriptures. All right. We're going to get a couple of foundational scriptures, and then we're going to get some precepts of those scriptures. And I'm going to bring out an account that's right here in the Bible, where there were brethren pitted against brethren, right? But there was a question asked by one of these brethren. There was a question asked by one of these brethren that I would love for my brethren at these two camps to hear. They've probably read this account numerous times, know of this account. The likelihood is that they do. However, kings, I say to you all, what was exhibited is as if you forgot everything you have an understanding of in regards to your brethren. All right, so let's go ahead. I want to start by going to Ecclesiasticus. We're going to go to Sirach chapter 13 and verse 15. Ecclesiasticus chapter 13 and verse 15, right? And it reads, every beast loveth his kind. Birds love birds, right? A bluebird loves a bluebird, right? A cardinal loves cardinals, right? And every man loveth his neighbor. We should be loving our neighbor, which is of our kind. Israel should love Israel, right? Let's go from there to the book of the laws. We're going to go to Leviticus. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 19. I just brought this out again not too long ago. But I want you to hear the end of this, right? Ye shall keep, this is the words of the Most High. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Leviticus 19 and 18. Thou shalt not avenge. Israel, this is to you, straight from the Most High. Thou shalt not avenge kings of these respected camps. All kings, all kings and princes. Also the queens and princesses. But in this account, it was all kings. So I'm specifically speaking to the kings and princesses. Princes. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. Like we read back in Ecclesiasticus, your kind. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Thus saith the Lord. Kings. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. All right. I want to go from there to go to the New Testament. We're going to go to Matthew. We're going to get Matthew 19 and 19. We're going to get Matthew 19 and 19. Right? Let's see what this is. From the mouth of Yahushua. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Straight from Yahushua's mouth. So we heard it from the Most High's mouth. Now we heard it from Yahushua's, right? Let's go over 3 chapters to Matthew chapter 22. And we're going to drop down. We're going to get verses 37 through 39. 37 through 39. This was a dialogue that Yahushua had. Listen to this. With the Pharisees. Okay. Jesus said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Now, these are 2 camps who go out, right, to prophesy to our nation. Let me repeat verse 40. For my beloved brethren of respected camps, of the respected camps that were in these altercations with one another. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets, kings. There are precepts to this. So let's go to Mark chapter 12. We're going to go to Mark chapter 12. Mark chapter 12, and we're going to get verses 30 through 33. We're going to start at verse 30, right? And thou shalt love, straight from Yahushua. Again, this is that same. We can start at 29. Let's start at 29. And Jesus answered him, the first of all the commandments is, hear, O Israel. The Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. I'm gonna go on down to verse 33. So I'm gonna do 29 through 33. Right? I was gonna do just 30 through 33. I'm gonna do 29 through 33. Verse 32. And the scribe said unto him, well, master, thou hast said the truth. For there is one God, and there is none other but he. And to love him with all the heart, and all the understanding, and with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself is more than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices. Back then, the sacrificial law was still abiding, right? And it's being stressed, and it was extremely important as Israel understood it. But it is being stressed, right? That even above sacrifices are the first commandment of there's only one Most High, and we are to love him unequivocally, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. The second, right? Let's go to Luke. We're going to go to Luke. We're going to see if that changed at any point in time. We're going to go to Luke chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 26. Right? Start at verse 26. And we're going to go down to verse 28. He said unto, well, let's first. He said unto him, what is written in the law? Way back in Leviticus. He's referring back to Leviticus, Yahweh is. He said unto him, what is written in the law? How readest thou? How did you read it? How did you read Leviticus 19 and 18? What was your understanding when you read Leviticus 19 and 18, right? And he answered, saying, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy might, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said unto him, thou hast answered this right. This do, and thou shalt live. If you do these things, then surely you shall live. Yahweh verifying it. Now let's go to James chapter 2, verse 8. Let's go to James chapter 2 and verse 8. Let's get this real fast. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture. Again, these are men. There are others that will proclaim them all as mighty men in the truth and in the scriptures. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Ye do well. Right? Those are the foundational scriptures for this truth for thought. So now I want to go and get some other scriptures just to solidify it before I go into this account Because we saw way back in the book of the law, we saw where Yahushua said, Yahushua going to echo this sentiment a lot. You're going to see this. Right? You're going to see this. Again, these are two respected camps, right? They do the work, I will tell you. You know, they go out, just like Ezekiel 37, man. They try to wake these dried bones. You hear me? They do this. You hear me openly admitting this, right? Yet they did fall in error, not just one time. And the rest of the world is seeing this, Israel. The same rest of the planet that says you're in a cult, that says you ain't shit but gang members, the men and women. Now it looks like a gang war. Almost a holy gang war. Let's just keep reading, right? Let's just stay in the scripture. We're going to go to 1 John chapter 4. Let's go to 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4. We're going to get a verses 11 and 12, right? Because you saw about loving thy neighbor. We saw when we went to Ecclesiasticus, you know, what thy neighbor is. It's of your kind, right? Let's get this. 1 John chapter 4, we're going to get verses 11 and 12. Beloved, if God so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man have seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us, right? We go, these two respected camps, they go out again every Sabbath on the highways and byways doing the work, right? Speaking of this same kind of love, only to have such an evil eye towards one another. And again, at the end of this truth thought, we're going to look at two sins that may very well be in play. Again, I wasn't there. I can't say for sure. But it's almost like it appears this way with repeated times. Same thing. Right? And it's getting worse each time. Right? There was an injury this time. Last time, everybody, no incident. Everybody left the scene with no incidents. This time we had an injury, right? We're going to go up to verse 7. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. It's to Israel. Say that. I don't know who all might see this truth of thought. But if this word gets out to my beloved brethren of these two respected camps, I know y'all know the scripture. The Bible also says to recall things when you're in certain instances, brethren. And this y'all know, y'all teach it. Recall these things. There's a big enough target on Israel's back. Always has been. Let's not make that target bigger. That is a request that I personally make to my beloved brethren. All right. Let's go back a chapter to 1 John chapter 3. We're going to get verse 23. And this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he gave us commandment. Again, I cannot stress, these are camps that go out and this is what they stress. They stress the commandment. They stress these things. They stress doing the work. They stress having the faith. Let's go up to verse 11. Let's see if it changed. 1 John chapter 3, verse 11. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, the book of laws, the Torah, the instructions, that we should love one another, not put our hands on one another, not cause strife to one another. It doesn't read any of that. It doesn't say any of those things. Cause any harm to one or another. It doesn't say any of that. Yes, someone was harmed in this last incident. My beloved brethren, if we're going to be so willing to call out the errors of one another, of others, let me say that. If we're going to be so willing to call out the errors or the errors of others, right? We must be willing to call our own. Accountability is very real scripturally. There are things that I have to take accountability for. I'm not perfect. People have tried to compare me to Yahushua, and I say that is not fair to me because of my many errors. Yet I don't mind accepting accountability, right? Let's go up to verse 8. Let's see if it changed here. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. I need to go to 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. I was about to give y'all 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8. Let's see what this says. Let's see what this says. Finally, be ye all of one mind. And they do. They pretty much are of one mind. They go out, they try, they do the work. They do the work. Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful, full of pity amongst one another. Be courteous. I want to go on and get verse 9. Not rendering evil for evil. Remember Deuteronomy 28 and 54 about an evil eye towards your brother. Not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise, blessing, knowing that ye are thereunto called. Again, this is two camps in the truth. All Israelites, that ye should inherit a blessing. That ye shall inherit a blessing, brethren. Let's go from there to 1 Peter chapter 1. We're going to go to 1 Peter chapter 1. We're going to read verse 22. I'm going to read verse 22. These, again, are camps in the truth. They're walking in righteousness, right? Listen to this. Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren. See that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently. I just went over fervently with my queen, actually, so she'll understand what fervently means. I'm not going to get the definition for it now, but if you do not know what fervently means, it behooves you just to look that word up. And I will tell you this, it doesn't mean lightly. It doesn't mean softly, anything like that. All right. Let's go from there to Hebrews. We're going to go to Hebrews. Let's go to Hebrews. We're going to get chapter 10 and verse 24. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24, right? And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good. Our beloved brethren, instead of brawling with one another, they're in the truth. Like we just read in 1 Peter 1 and 22. In the truth, in the Spirit. Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to do good works. Not it doesn't say provoke to throw hands. It doesn't say provoke again to harm, especially your brethren, right? And these are all brethren in the truth, right? They were supposed to be out there doing good, not just good works, great works. But the curses are real, Israel. And no one is exempt from the curses. However, no one of Israel is exempt from the curses. However, being in the truth, when presented with it, you should be recalling certain things, right? And there's something that Yahweh said, right, that I'm going to mention before I go into this account. Have my beloved brethren just recall these things. These brawls could have been avoided. right? Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 9. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 9. And it reads, but as touching brotherly love, ye need not that I write unto you, for ye yourselves are taught of God to love one another from way back in the book of the laws, way back Leviticus. Like one of the scriptures we read from way back in the beginning, all throughout the Bible. It's not echoed for no reason. It's because things like this used to happen, and I'm gonna get an account. Used to happen amongst Israel, right? Have we not learned from past errors, brethren? Let's go to Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 2. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 2. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2. With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. I want to get this all the way in context. I want to do verse 1. I want to do Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. I started to do it, but I'm definitely going to do it. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy. These are camps in the truth. They're out teaching others how to make them present themselves worthy, that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, my brethren. Now let's do verse 2 because it sounds just that much better. Fully completed. With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love. I want to get verse 3. I really pray that my beloved brethren hear any of their brethren that have said anything about this. It don't even have to be little on me. I pray that they recall the Bible, endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit. They all are supposed to be in a certain spirit, in the bond of peace. When I get to this account, that's basically what one Israelite is going to say to another. They're going to ask of peace. Right? So let's go from there to Galatians chapter 5. We're going to go to Galatians chapter 5. We're going to get verses 13 and 14. And I apologize, Israel, if it appears that I'm like beating a dead horse. But this is the thing. Not only did one brawl happen, another brawl happened, right? So maybe this horse isn't too dead. Maybe this needs to be addressed about as many times as it's addressed in the Bible to our brethren, right? So we're going to get chapter 13 and 14. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Both these camps been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I truly pray that my beloved brethren of both respected camps just want somebody in those camps, if one of them just hear this, and express this to their respected camp. I always say, we know the curses are real, right? In the event that an account can happen at any time, especially with very real curses, right? Let's avoid a problem rather than have to treat a problem. Because see, the problem that happened, the world, they've been waiting for it. It's happened twice now between these two camps. They've been waiting for this. They've been waiting for some justification to the things that they persecute us as, even those two camps, right? As just gangs, biblical bullies, cults. Why then? It is so simple, beloved. This is not rocket science. Let's go now to Romans chapter 13. Let's go to Romans chapter 13. And we're going to get verses 8 and 9, right? Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. We seeing this a couple of times now about the law, because it is a commandment to love thy neighbor as thyself. For this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. It literally lists off all these sins and reverts and references back to Leviticus 19 and 18. Exact wording. Let's go back one chapter, Romans 12. We're going to get verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love. Remember that word fervently? It kind of sticks out again. We read that word fervently once before. It doesn't use that exact word right here, but let me repeat it. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business. I know these two camps know these. I know they know these scriptures. not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, serving the Most High. They go out in the highways and byways every Sabbath, right? Doing the Most High's work, serving the Most High, right? So why then, my beloved, outside of Deuteronomy 28 and 54, why then? And even with the knowledge of, the understanding of Deuteronomy 28 and 54, why you all, my beloved brethren, right? The world knows that gangs exist, right? A lot of people of Israelite descent are in gangs, right? The world expects gangs to do this, right? Because it's a curse, even the world of Israel expects gangs to do this. But does the world of Israel expect our beloved brethren in the truth to do this? So now I want to go to some things that Yahweh Shah said, right? That I've not already covered, because I covered some things that Yahweh Shah said, right? I want to cover some things that Yahweh Shah said. So let's go to John 15 and 12. Let's go to John 15 and 12. Right? Let's look at some things Yahweh Shah said, right? This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Straight out of Yahweh Shah's mouth. Well, of course, we heard straight out from thus saith the Lord. We've heard this echoed by Yahweh Shah now, right? Let's drop down to verse 17. These things I command you, that ye love one another. Yet again, echoing the same sentiment, right? But because these are camps, right, in the truth, right? Like we read once before, called, right? Let's go to John chapter 13. We're going to get verses 34 and 35. John chapter 13, we're going to get verses 34 and 35. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved ye, that ye also love one another, right? Yahweh Shah speaking. Listen to this, though. By this shall all men know. So even the heathen nations will know, right? It's a way that we are supposed to set ourselves apart. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples. Ye are my prophets, going out every Sabbath, waking my people up, waking up these dried bones. But by this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. So now I want to look at an account. It's like I said, I kind of mentioned it back at the first Royal Gathering about the event that took place on 5/20/23 in Kansas City, Missouri. And because there was the love gathering. I spoke of all things love, how to love the Most High, how to love and reverence Yahweh Shai, how to love, how a man loving, a king loving his queen, a queen loving his king, loving her king, and how to love your brethren. Yet again, though, 9/2/23 in Atlanta, Georgia. It happens again. Kind of like this account we're finna go to. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 2. We're going to go to 2 Samuel chapter 2. And we're going to give verses 1 through 26. I'm going to stop at 26 for a reason, because there's a question that is asked, right? There is a question that's asked at verse 26 that makes logical sense. Had this account been recalled in those two instances, had these scriptures that I read been recalled in those two instances, the problem could have been avoided. In this last instance, someone could have not gotten hurt by their own brethren. Doesn't matter how they got hurt or what took place that made it. It was from the stem of our brethren not loving one another. That's where it stemmed from. 2 Samuel 2, and I'm going to kind of burn through this kind of fast, right? I know this truth for thought isn't as long as most of them. When I have to do things like this is with a heavy, heavy heart. I'm doing this truth for thought with a heavy heart. I don't want it to go no longer than it has to. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, go up. And David said, whither shall I go up? And he said, unto Hebron. So David is asking, shall I go into any of the cities of Judah? The Most High says, yeah, go up there. David says, okay, which particular city? He references him to Hebron, right? So David went up thither with his two wives also, Abinoam, the Jezreelites, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. So he did exactly what the Most High told him to do. And the men of Judah came. These are all Israelites. These are all Israelites. Keep that in mind. Bear this in mind. These are all Israelites, right? And the men of Judah came. And there they anointed David king over the house of Judah, right? And there is a commandment that we should put no stranger above us, but our brethren, right? So our forefathers appointed their brethren to be above them, right? And they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the man of Shigli, Jabesh Gilead, apologize, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have shewed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord shew kindness and truth unto you. And I also will require you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. But Abner, now this is David with his camp. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. So these are all Israelites in this account, right? Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. You see these two different camps? See these two different camps of Israel now? Keep all this in mind. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David, so these again, two representatives of these two different camps, went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. All right, so these two camps are at a site. Right. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool and the other on the other side of the pool. Let's see what these two representatives of said camps, what happened. And Abner said to Joab, Let the young men now rise and play before us. And Joab said, Let them rise. What they just agreed to was a fight. Right? Then there rose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertaineth to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. So we got 12 from this camp, 12 from this camp. Listen to how the Bible describes this. And they called everyone his fellow, his neighbor, his brethren by the head, and thrust his sword in his fellows, his brethren, his beloved neighbor side. So they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazurim, which is in Gibeon. So you got two camps fighting. Two camps fighting to the death. Nevertheless, it's two camps fighting. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beat, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. He's fast. He can run. Now this fast one, Asahel. And Asahel pursued after Abner, and in going, he turned not to the right hand nor to the left hand from following Abner. He is hell-bent, determined. He's not deterring. He's going head first. He's not going to turn to the left. He's not going to turn to the right. This one of this camp is pursuing this one of this other camp fervently. When we read that he should be loving, this one of this camp should be loving the one of this camp fervently. No, he's pursuing him fervently. Then Abner looked behind him and said, "Art thou Asahel?" And he answered, "I am." So Abner's running and like, wait a minute. Aren't you Asahel? And Asahel responds, "Yes, I am." And head forward, coming after his brethren. An evil eye towards his brethren, way back to Deuteronomy 28 and 54. And Abner said to him, "Turn thee aside to thy right hand or thy left hand, and lay thee hold of one of the young men, and take thee his armor." But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him. He said, wait a minute. If you gonna fight with the ones already fighting. But Asahel had an evil eye. He's of a certain camp, while Abner's of another camp. Had this evil eye towards his brethren of this other camp. Right? And Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground?" He's saying, I don't want to kill you. It's enough Israelite blood shed amongst Israelites. I don't want to kill you. How then should I hold up my face to Joab, thy brother? If I'm forced to kill you, how am I going to go back and look your brother in the face? Now, it's very clear. These are all Israelites. He knows his brother. He knows his blood brother. Verse 23, howbeit he refused to turn aside, wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him. Stuck him under his 5th rib, and the spear came all the way out in the backside of it. And he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Azrael fell down and died, stood still. So when they saw he died, they all stood still, right? Joab also and Abishai pursued. Now Joab and Abishai are after Abner. These are all Israelites. These are all brethren. And the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner. Now, they've gotten such an evil eye towards their brother. They're actively pursuing. Right? Now, I don't know if the recent events was our brethren pursuing our brethren. I will say this. There is no irony or coincidence. And they had an incident way in Kansas City, Missouri, months ago. And here in September. And these happening on the Sabbath, Israel. On the Sabbath. Here in September, September the 2nd. Another brawl, just like at the pool of Gibeon. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner and became one troop and stood on the top of an hill. Here's the question, a very key question. Right? That was posed. Right? Then Abner called unto Joab. One camp called unto another camp. And said, shall the sword devour forever? Shall we continue? We're brethren. Are we supposed to have an evil eye towards each other forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? It's nothing good that comes from this for Israel as a whole. It makes the target bigger for Israel as a whole. It almost corroborates what every other walk of life, their opinion of Israel, they just big gangs. How long shall it be then? An error. How many times to these respected camps is this error going to be made? Thou bid the people return from following their brethren. How long are my beloved brethren going to brawl? How many Gibeons does it have to be? Every time it's an error. It's an error. How many Gibeons does it have to be to the respected camps? And again, I'm not going to say any camp names. How many Gibeons does it have to be, beloved brethren? So I want to go from that question is key, right? We started by visiting Deuteronomy 28 and 54, right? I want to go back to Sirach because we left straight from Deuteronomy 28 and 54 and went to Sirach 13 and 15, right? No, I'm going to end it like I started. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 54. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54, right? I'm going to end it like I started it. so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye in error, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And I want to go from there. I want to go back to Sirach, but this time I want to go to Ecclesiasticus. I want to go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 27. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 27. And I want to give verses. I started to do this whole chapter, but this is so heavy on my heart. I want to get this over so fast. I'm just going to get verses. I'm going to get 3 verses out of it. I'm going to get verses 17 and 18. Then we're going to drop to the very last verse. Ecclesiasticus chapter 27, verse 17. Love thy friend, thy neighbor, thy brethren, and be faithful unto him. But if thou betrayest his secrets, follow no more after him. For as a man hath destroyed his enemy, so hast thou lost the love of thy neighbor. This is why he asked that question. How long are we going to have these Gibeon herbs before some love be lost for thy neighbor? Right? Let's drop to verse 30. Because, see, this is what happens every time a Gibeon-like event happens. When it happened in Gibeon, when it happened in 5/20/23 in Kansas City, Missouri, right? When it happened September the 2nd, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. Verse 30, malice and wrath. Even these are abominations, and the sinful man shall have them both with malice and with wrath. Our beloved brethren brawled with one another. These are sins, my beloved brothers. They're abominations and they are sins that led you to even more sin, as you're commanded to love thy brother, love thy neighbor. To my beloved brethren, just like I said back at the second royal gathering, it behooves you to repent and do these sins no more, as every other walk of life on this planet want you to continue to corroborate their story of some of the bywords and the proverbs that they call Israelites. And with that, Israel, I want to ask again that you keep in prayer those on the prayer list. In fact, I want to add to the prayer list just all of your beloved brethren. As I generally keep the nation as a whole in my prayer. Just in case you didn't at first. I ask that you include all our brethren in prayer. So with that, Israel, let me stop sharing my screen. It's your beloved brother, King Marcus. Till next time, be it the Most High will. I love you all, and shalom.